Please stand for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to remind you to please silence your mobile devices. Welcome. This is our annual budget meeting. Tonight's topic is the budget and only the budget. I will introduce the trustees now. We have Elaine Baumeister. She's the secretary-treasurer. Sandy Kaufman, trustee. Charles Lupo, trustee. Shirley Anthony, trustee. Russ Steenwig and Louis Mayoko are absent. I'll introduce Mr. Schultz, Joseph Schultz, our community manager. Well, I have to introduce Michelle Lampard. She's our accounting administrator, and Jim Snyder, service manager. We don't usually see Jim with a jacket. Samantha Boker is our administrative assistant. Okay, you guys are on.
Okay. You did the whole announcement about your phones, right?
I did.
Okay,
Did
good.
you not hear that?
I did not. No, I was talking. I'm in trouble.
Would you silence your mobile device?
I did.
Thank you.
I did. Good evening, everyone. All right, we're ready to do the presentation of the 2018 budget. However, in going with tradition, we'd like to talk about the things that we accomplished over this past year. First, we started off the year with a town hall meeting, which was pretty well received, and then we followed that up with a town hall update. This took some time for the board to work this through and then to agree on how we interact with the board and how both of us interact with divisions and committees. We've accomplished that, and then further on, we talked with the committees and divisions and made sure everybody was familiar with it, and then ultimately we presented it to you, the audience, for the people at home. Another accomplishment this year, which special thanks to Carolyn Thompson, the Neighborhood Watch was started. This is one of the two buildings that were affected by the fire about a little bit more than a year ago. They were restored under this last year that we went through. Long, hard debate. Ultimately, the decision was made to replace the wood fences with the vinyl fences, and that was accomplished all this year. Along with that, the board challenged the maintenance department to not only clean the fences, but clean the entire buildings on a complete schedule. In other words, to do the whole village. We were only doing half of the village, or if that, not even that. I turned the sound off here because that gets too loud. But you can see it's just a little quick video on how wonderful that does. And I can tell you we're about 800 homes done already this year, with only the 2.5 months in since we got the piece of equipment. Normally, we only do about 600 for the whole season, for the whole year for that matter. We're already at 800 and doing strong. I think a recurring theme in this whole presentation is going to be the reserves. The reserves are there for things when you need it. In particular, in this case, we're talking about roofing. The money's there for you to get roofs when they're needed to be done. We also this year beautified Willow Hall parking lot, including the entryway. It was looking kind of ratty, and now it looks very, very well. This is the back patio here in Willow Hall. It certainly is a little bit downsized from our first envision of that, but nonetheless, I think we accomplished a very good makeover of that area. Here's a couple of shots for that. New grills, new electric grills in there, so it's easier for you to use. You don't have to sign out a key and worry about natural gas. So those are there for you. You can see instead of replacing the cement that was painted, it looks very, very good. And Jim also managed to carve out another section that was part of that, and now it's a nice little, let's say, cozy area for you to have small gatherings. Very much well done there. Ooh, that's not supposed to happen. Again, this is just representing the reserves. The money's there for you when we need to do your cement driveway. The driveway was done because the monies are there. This is something that came up early on in this budget year. It was noted that there was some swaying at the gazebo. The board acted quickly, had an engineer come in. The engineer drafted up the specifications to get it repaired. Jim went out to bid. Jim got all the bids necessary for it. We selected the right vendor for that. The repairs are done. Another thing we talked about early on in this year was the replacement of a tree lift. The other tree lift was purchased used. The monies were there, again, in the reserves, put away a little over time, over many years, so that the money is there for it when you need it. Road paving, once again, every year, we take a section of the village that is old enough to receive the paving. We go through all the criteria and we hand it off to the finance division, and we come back with a recommendation what we need to pave this year, every year I should say. And this is another, I hate to beat a dead horse here, but that's another prime example of what your reserve dollars do for you. This year it was a challenge because they made a high definition map of all the flood zones. And when they did that, it encompassed about six to eight homes here that were on the border of it. One unit of an entire building might have been touching that flood zone. They were mandated that they needed flood insurance for those areas. The board received this information, acted upon it properly, hired an engineer, got the certificates done. Those homes now are covered by flood insurance. Willow Hall, this building right here, who came into a problem where we're starting to lose our HVAC on the roof. Those are rooftop package units. They were all at the end of their useful life. It was recommended that we replace them pretty much in kind, and that was done. Those three were done, and the last two are going to be coming up soon to be put on this part of the building. For many years, this has been talked about, but this board acted on it and put in 135 stop signs out there in the village that were not there. They were just roads that just went onto a major portion of the village, and there was no stop sign. They're all there now. This is 20 some odd years in the making right here, starting with way back with Ben Hannigan, trying to get us to move towards a solar installation of some sort. This board decided to actually act upon that for the first time and install a solar panel, a series of solar panels on the maintenance building, helping to reduce the costs for supplying the electric for the maintenance building. Also, we'll be able to get our solar renewable credits through that. Look for further reports from that. Once we finish the last little bit of it, we'll be giving that information to the finance division, and they should give you a quarterly report on how we're doing. This year, we implemented for the first time the swipe card access to the pools. Everyone who wants to need access to the pool. Yeah, I just stuck a generic one in there. I didn't want to show anybody that didn't want to get shown. So that was done this year.
When that says do not punch, does that mean
Do not punch. You're supposed to hit the music when you do that. Another thing that we did at the beginning of this year was Well, the video does that automatically, I guess. Implemented this grass collection system for our grass pickup for our mowers. This was typically done by 2 people before, now it's a one-man operation. And besides that, it also reduced some of the not fumes, but the particles that were going into the air from picking up the grass and the leaves and stuff like that. This year, we also went out to get a new vendor for our vending machines. Wonderful to have this kind of vending there now for the first time. The other ones were looking pretty bad. These give you much more variety for the residents. And it's also now we expanded it to the pools as well. I didn't hear from you guys on this one, but I was hoping you would. At the pools, there's now USB outlets there so you can charge your phones. Small, you got that? Good. Small little upgrade, but nice to have. They're at both pools. One's along the wall line when you first come in to the right, that's Willow, and the other one is in where the bathrooms are, right? Where the vending is.
What is that? I'm not technical, so I don't know what you should show.
So that is for charging your cell phone. They're USB ports. If you have your cable, you can plug into that and charge up. Again, this year we were talking about the problems that we had with the spa. It was deteriorating along the inside. There was a leak that was plaguing it. The board acted upon that again quickly. That was done, all resurfaced, no more leaks. We're happy with that. Bless you. We started off early again this year. We were looking for an alternative to the gates that we have, the heavy metal gates. We couldn't find one that was better than what we had, but the same company made one with an aluminum gate, which makes it a little bit less wear and tear. That's the theory anyway. There's going to be less wear and tear, and these gates should last longer than the other ones. We expanded the key, not the kiosk, but we expanded the computer access for residents who don't have computer access at home or internet access at home. We expanded that now from Encore over to Willow. At the same time, we added a kiosk in both locations. Hopefully it's done. The second one's done. To both locations that if you don't have internet access and you want to watch these meetings, all the board meetings, you'll be able to go to Willow or to Encore and watch it on these computers here. It's a touchscreen friendly thing. All right, now we promised, that was a look back on the last year. Now we did promise, we've been talking about this for quite some time, to talk about the PVC trim project. So starting off that was, why are we changing the wood to PVC? We're doing that in part because we go around every year, paint 1/5 of the village. That's all the sections, including Encore. Encore just happens to have more 5/4, that white board, those white boards you see there, than any other section. That has the most. In addition, because we're only painting on every 5 years, your house, let's say, your house only gets painted every 5 years, there may be some chances, especially around the windows, that the wood rots. Okay, so that we know we have to do something about that. And typically what we do is a carpenter comes in, replaces that wood with more 5/4 lumber, and it has to get painted and back on the schedule again. And the process, it's wash, rinse, and repeat, right? We do it again and again and again. So right now, what does that cost us every year? The last 20 years or so, what does that cost? For paint supplies, roughly for that section, about $10,000. The labor, roughly again, for those sections, about $30,000. That's one part of one full-time worker, part of a seasonal, 6-member seasonal staff. The 5/4 lumber material and other little fasteners and stuff like that, $32,000. You'll see some of these numbers in our budget that we've declined because we've reduced because we're doing the PVC project. Carpentry labor, that's the labor to do all of that work, about $60,000. So roughly speaking, rough terms, we spend about $132,000 a year anyway replacing, painting wood. So what were we talking about? We're talking about replacing the wood with something like this. It's a man-made product. It's PVC. I have material up here for you to look at later on if you want to see it. And I also have a sample of the regular wood that's on there. It comes in various sizes. It's all extruded, so it's easy to get. It even comes in corners, pre-made corners, and there's an example up here as well. Comes in pre-made corners. And here it is where we put the product on site, start working on a particular building. It takes us, we're getting better and better at it each day, roughly a week per unit, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less sometimes. So it's a complex process. What we have to do is remove all the wood. In particular, around the windows, we have to put a rubber membrane up so it stops any water intrusion. Put the 5/4 PVC product back on, caulk it up, and we're done with that and we move on. But occasionally we do run into rot. Some more severe than this, some less severe to this. If it's not something the guys can fix right away and get that done, another team will come back in, or I say team, it might be one guy, will come back in and do those repairs. The guys that are working on the 5/4 PVC project, we want production out of them, so they'll move on to the next thing, and somebody else will come back and fix this. Once that's fixed, they'll come back and put that on there. Here's a completed house. Everything's 5/4 PVC now. Don't have to paint it anymore. Hopefully we'll never have to replace it again after that. So when we first started looking at how we're going to do this, we looked at if a contractor could do it. And with one of the lowest bids, the target total cost per unit was coming in at $6,500 per unit to do with a contractor. Still thinking we could do about 50 units a year. That's about $325,000 if a contractor does it. We also said, what if we can accomplish this in-house with association labor? Material costs, we have a 1-year agreement for this product, so we have a guaranteed price for 1 year. And in doing so, they gave us 3 units worth of material for free, and we're about to get that, right? That's about to start. The next 3, that material for the next 3 units will be free. All part of this new contract we have. The labor per unit is based on 3 full-time employees, $2,763 per unit. The target total cost per unit is $5,263, less than a contractor would do it. Again, we're talking about sticking with 50 units. It's an aggressive schedule, but we think we can do that. 50 units, $263,157. Deferred maintenance funding. Currently, before this next budget, it's funded at $171,700. So that's what we've been funding just about for a long time on that. How many years, I don't know, but a long time. They're going to recommend that we go to 185. Okay, so it's up a little bit. This is how we're paying for this project to happen. So $185,000 plus $109,500 from the administration fees. You know, when we sell every house that transfers in the village, there's $1,700 that come in. Some of that is association administrative fees. Some of it is for capital improvements. That portion of it is getting associated to this project. So that gives the subtotal funding for those 2 items, the last 2 items on there, to $294,500 assigned for these 2 projects. The PVC new project is $263, as we said before, $263,157. We continue the siding painting at $30,000, same as we have been doing. And at the end of the year, after all the funding, it'll be left with a remaining balance of $1,343, and the whole process starts over again next year. So people have been saying, we're not talking $263,000. We're talking over 14 years. We're talking about a $3.6 million or $3.7 million project. But they're forgetting about the other half of that. The other part of that is we're doing it now with paint, wood, carpenters. That same amount of work spread over 14 years is about $2 million. So it's the difference between what we're doing now, which is never ending, right? We're always going to do that. There's no end in sight, as opposed to doing it this way over 14 years, and then hopefully we're done. Done painting, done replacing, moving on. So just to remunerate, I guess, the same thing. $3.7 million roughly for the PVC project. How does that compare to other things? When you start talking about cost of things over 14 years, everything starts to sound like a lot, right? Roofs are almost $7 million when you think about it over 14 years. The operating cost is almost $100 million over 14 years. And just this morning, I'm thinking about insurance. Insurance would be $14 million over that many years. So it's nice to sign that number to it. And big numbers, they're kind of scary, but that's what your business is here. It's big numbers, and it's relevant. It's the right cost. So I hope that answers some of the questions that we had on the PVC project. So if you're ready, we'll go into next year's budget. Okay, the 2018 budget for fund groups. Of course, we have operating, replacement, property fund, deferred maintenance, emergency reserve fund, and the capital improvement fund. That's our fund groups. We have the notable differences in the operating budget, right? It's the biggest part. So insurance is up $82,900. Union Health up $50,600. Sanitation service up $46,500. That alone, those three items, can I quote Joe Grabowski? This is the major part of this increase has to do with those items right there. That's $5.50 worth of an increase right there. Operating fund increased by $251,860 or $7.80 per month. The replacement fund components, $906,428. That's the roads, the bridge, the roof, common buildings, exterior, well motors, concrete, and TV cable. Let's go into those. Those are the roads and bridges, stays the same as last year's funding, $220,000. Roofs went up just a little bit, $15,000 up to $490,000. Common buildings went down just a little bit, $10,000 to $105,000. Exterior, $36,000, $428. No change, same as last year. Well motors stayed the same, $30,000. Concrete stayed the same, $25,000. Retaining walls we don't have currently. TV cable went down $49,166. Yeah. Okay, continuing on, the replacement fund, the total, what we were just talking about, all of that together decreased by $44,166, or down $1.36 less per month. Property fund, $182,500, an increase of $5,000 or 15 cents a month. Deferred maintenance, remember that's some of the stuff we just went through. That's the siding painting that we continue to do. And now the PVC project are all in that deferred maintenance program. And the deferred maintenance has been increased by $13,300 or 41 cents to get all of that work done. That's what we're increasing it by. The Emergency Reserve Fund is capped. We reached the full cap for that, so there's no funding required. Capital Improvement Fund is the same as last year. We don't put anything into the Capital Improvement Fund yet. And now we'll go through the summary. This is where the grand totals come up. Operating went up by $251,860 or $7.80 a month. The replacement fund went down $44,166 or down $1.36 a month. Property fund went up $5,000, an increase of 15 cents per month. Deferred maintenance went up $13,300 or 41 cents per month increase. Emergency reserve stayed the same. Capital improvement stayed the same. Here's the grand total. The net is $225,994, a flat increase of $7 per month. And that's the end of it. However, I want to thank Mary Lou Donor and the Finance Division, Michelle, of course, who does 90% of the work around here, and Jim and his staff for putting all the work together, getting what they have to do, and of course to the board for giving us the time to put this all together. So thank you, and we'll move on from there.
We do not have any writing questions, so we're now open to questions from the floor.
Good evening. Arthur Weiner, 1251B Thornberry. I see we have new microphones that we don't have to swallow.
Let's hope they work, right? Do you hear them?
Okay. So terrific. Before I ask my question, I just want a personal comment that I'm disappointed at the number of people that are here. This is the most important meeting. It's how our money is spent. And the apathy of people not showing up personally disturbs me. Just a comment. My question... Whoa.
Too loud.
I got a little closer. My question is, we have a TV cable fund that you've stopped funding. And originally, when I suggested a technology fund about 4 or 5 years ago, it was then changed by the trustees back then. I think you were president, Sandy, to be the TV cable fund. And it was said that it was going to subsidize the new bulk cable deal. Is that the plan for the TV cable fund?
What do we have in that fund?
So the funding has stopped, right? There are funds in that fund.
Right, $122,000.
But the funding has stopped, so really it can't help augment your future increases that you're going to get.
Okay. And that's fine.
Yep.
I thought it was a bad idea then, so I'm requesting and suggesting that it be renamed back to Technology Fund. There's a lot of projects going on that are in the technology area, and maybe this year it's too late to refund it, to keep building it, because there's going to be technology over time. And so I'm suggesting for next year, start funding it again, and we have $122,500 in there that we can use for various technology projects. So,
Thank you.
why was it defunded?
Well, it went through the Finance Division as well as everyone else. How could you fund something that says TV cable when we signed a contract now? We know what that's going to be. It's kind of hard for anyone to justify why are we collecting whatever it was, $1 something.
Right, as a TV cable, we change it back to technology.
Well, that's a new recommendation to you to go back, but right now, as of this current year, it's TV. And the board ultimately there was the Finance Division's recommendation, the board that we can't fund it right now.
And there's no plan to use this right now for TV cable?
I can't speak for the board, but, oh, you want something?
Yeah, I do. I think we did put that on the agenda for discussion in terms of now that we have settled one issue, exactly what is the best use for those funds. So I think that was under discussion. I don't think we arrived at any conclusion at this point.
Nothing's earmarked. I don't know if this would be better for Michelle or whatever, because we're going to need some equipment when we go over to a VoIP system. So whether or not we can use that money for that, Michelle can answer that. Or the technology committee now is looking at the database, and that may, if they can't find what they're looking for, they might recommend something else that the monies could go for.
Okay, I got my eye on that one, thank you.
Okay.
And the microphone seems to work, I can talk from back here. What a pleasure. Yay, Howard.
Al D'Amato, Friar Court. Line 5994, the township subsidy. We have a decrease as to why? 5994.
So the township subsidy is a subsidy that we get back from Manchester Township for reimbursement for snow, lighting, and leaves in bulk.
Right. I'm aware of that.
It's a calculation based on prior years, 3 prior years. So they take all of our numbers and they figure out how much we get reimbursed.
Okay, it's 3 years, not 5 years.
Is it 3 or 5?
It was 5. I believe it still is 5,
That's-
unless they changed it.
I believe you had said 5 previously.
We did.
Yeah, I think it is 5. I think.
Okay, so in essence, we didn't spend so much.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, it's not that we didn't. The town
The
as a
town.
whole
Right.
didn't spend so much. We're only reimbursed for what the town would normally put into the same amount of miles,
Right.
right? So they don't count driveways and stuff like that.
Understood.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that the fact that we're doing the main roads and tributaries rather than the town.
Exactly.
Okay. The solar panels.
Mr., we have another person, so can you get at the back of the
Oh,
line?
it wasn't explained. I only get one at a time. I'll be back.
Walter Dailuski, 908 Stratford Court. The reason there's not too many people here tonight is that there's no announcement on Channel 15 that there's a meeting tonight. I don't know why that was. Is it some sort of secret that we're having this budget meeting? I don't know. There's so many things on the wraps here. I'm
Do you
wondering
have a
if-
budget question, Mr. Jaluski?
Yeah, well, let's get to the wood trim, okay, which is, a subject that I'm interested in. The last 2 or 3 weeks, okay, they've been doing the house across the street from me. Are there any particular special problems about that house?
Yeah, there were.
Because it's not taking 5 days to do those houses, Joe.
No, not consecutive days, no. My staff was looking into another alternative for the ridge line. I didn't want it to start on that house, obviously. So they stopped, they paused, they went on to something else. They recently came back to the house, and from what I understand, it was finished today.
It was finished yesterday.
Oh, yesterday. Okay, good.
Okay. That took 12 days to do the 2 houses, or 6 days
Yeah.
per house.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
How many of the windows were done by an outside contractor?
On that particular house, did you know, Jim?
Yeah, there were the A unit.
The A unit?
The A unit had windows done.
Yeah, so let's add another 2 days on to that.
Maybe
okay?
a day. the
Let's
most.
add 2. I've seen the work. Okay? Okay, so now you're...
Did you hit that one down or anything? Push that backward. Yeah.
Get out.
Oh, not that.
Okay. So now it's taken 14 days, okay? Now, it could be that this house had some special problems or whatever, something like that. But you're talking about 700 houses, and it just so happens that the one across the street from me takes 14 days to do two homes.
So obviously, we're not hiding anything, right?
Well, I think you're hiding something, Joe,
No,
okay?
no.
Because you're giving everybody this
No.
idea that you're going
No,
to do
look.
50 homes a year.
We've done-
And if it's taken 14 for two, okay, do the math.
I did the math. We're up against the wall, right? We did 20 homes already, 20, since we started. And it keeps getting a little better each time. That unit you're talking about, yeah, that should have been done sooner than it was. We've already talked
And it
about
was just
that one.
my luck that it would happen to be
No,
across
it's
the
my
street.
luck. It's my luck.
Mr. Deluski, do you have a budget question?
Oh, this is part of the budget
Do you
presentation,
have a question
okay?
about the numbers?
Okay. I will come back, okay, because I want
That's
to
fine.
allow other people to ask questions also.
Yes, there's a line
Okay,
behind you.
Thank you.
Al D'Amato, you had a great presentation with the solar panels. Are they online yet?
They are online. There's still the next phase where we have to register a few more things and be able to sell the SRECs. So we're
Okay.
still going through that right now.
All right. I'll return.
As a matter of fact, I'll just answer this further, is that we have the website available now, so we're going to be putting that on the two buildings. It may go further than this, but for right now, the website will show generally how it's producing every day. So that should be going up very soon. I got to give that to Howard for hopefully get it done this week.
Questions, Joe.
I know, sort of.
Tom Farrell. My apologies, I lost my place. Okay, on page 6, administrative payroll. It's the exact same amount this year and next year. And yet,
What is it?
so could you help me understand?
was the
Everybody
line item
else
number
payroll
again?
went up, but except for administrative.
What was the line item number again?
Page 6, administrative payroll.
No, it's all right. We got the big
Page
books.
23.
23?
Nah. I think I might have one.
Okay.
Here.
Administrative payroll.
Are you taking a pay cut? Is that what it is?
What's that?
Are you taking a pay cut? Is that why
Yeah,
it's
I guess,
taken?
right? So just going through the rough calculations, what was it, over the last 10 years, administrative payroll has increased by 1.5%.
No,
1.05, I'm sorry, 1.05. That's the average. So this is a
You need to
budget
help me.
plan.
I don't understand.
This is not actual. These are budget numbers we're talking about.
Okay, so you're budgeting the same amount.
If you look
This year,
you
as
don't
you
see
budget-
this. Last year, we came in at 492,000, roughly. So there's still money there for it.
Okay.
Good evening, Faye Weinstein, Huntington Drive. On that same page, could you tell me what a house mechanic is?
House mechanic is not on, well,
On their page.
on your page. Go ahead, take that one.
They are our structural mechanics, the one that will change your doors and windows, but they're actually the men right now that are being used for the PVC project, 2 of them.
So you've budgeted on this for 3 employees. This year was 125,000, but next year it's only 42,000? How did you do that?
Next year it's only 54,000, and that decrease of 70,400 is because 2 of those men will be doing that PVC project, and we charge that labor to the reserves, not to the operating budget. So it comes out of this budget and it gets charged over to the reserves, and that's included in that calculation of all the costs to do the PVC trim. It's included in there, budgeted in there, so we have to decrease it from the operating budget.
And how's that different from the mechanics in the next section with 0 employees?
Well, you said the next section, you mean 6562, building maintenance mechanic?
6675 mechanics.
We don't.
Zero.
Zero, we don't. 6675, we don't have an employee that is paid out of that category. There's nobody budgeted and nobody being paid out of that account.
Some of these categories are set up by the union, you know, what nomenclature they get. There just happens to be nobody in that particular line.
We have an assistant mechanic, he's paid out of the next line down, but there is no mechanic.
Okay, thank you.
Walter Dyluski. It's very easy to meet a budget if you're not doing the job that you're supposed to be doing. Okay? You're taking two men away from the job that they normally would be doing. Maybe replacing a window here, doing a doorway someplace else. The price that is paid is not only in dollars and cents. The residents are not getting served. Okay? You have 58 full-time employees, I believe. Correct? 58?
45 union,
Union,
16 non-union.
Okay. 45,
So-
61 employees.
So you're,
So you take two of them, and for the next 14 years, they're going to be working on the trim. Okay? What about the services to the rest of the village?
yeah, we're continuing to do that as well. What you're forgetting is a lot of their time was devoted to doing this pine, this 5-quarter pine. A lot of it was devoted to that. So you're forgetting that. And now they're eliminating that problem that they've been going back to year after year after year and finalizing it once and for all. So you're forgetting that. And I know we're on the same side on this, really, right? You think this is a good project, right?
I think it's a good project, but
Then what's
the
the-
numbers are
then
not
what-
working out, Joe.
Then what is the alternative?
The alternative is to speak the truth to the people, Joe.
We are. We just gave the
No,
numbers.
you got a bunch of numbers up there, okay? And you tell us, oh, it's going to take about a week for a house, okay? And I come up here, and the house across the street is not the truth.
Here's the thing. I'm not going to be reporting this quarterly. The finance division, we're going to give it to them. They're going to report it quarterly. Give it a year and
Okay?
see what we do.
I got a bet with Mary Lou Donna, dollars to donuts, that you don't meet half of the 50 this year.
I'm almost at
Right.
half.
Okay, on to the next topic.
There's a line right here.
I didn't take the bet.
Hold it up, please. Chuck has a question for Joe.
Joe, the reporting on the PVCs, a unit, that's the A or B. It's not the house, correct?
That's correct. Each one of these is a unit. 700 and something units to
So
do.
7 days per unit.
Roughly, a week
So
per unit.
what just happened, what Walt was just saying, that house, which was unit A and B, took 14 days,
14 days.
which is right in the,
It's in the ballpark. It was a little bit longer than what we like to do. There was one complete day that you stayed off of it. He might be counting that. I don't know.
If I may.
Yeah.
This unit, a Savoy, and this way it's laid out, I don't know if anybody knows what a pork chop is, but it's a little triangle piece of wood, decorative, on the end where two boards come down.
Yeah.
This had 20-plus pork chops on it. It takes a long time to bend the coil for each one of these pork chops. So it took us, trust me, he saw me there. He saw Tom there. We're on these guys. It took longer than we had hoped. It took a day and a half longer than we should have. But if you look at the average, we're 5 to 7 days. We're pushing towards 5. This one, and we know it was right across the street, took 7 days.
Okay. We want to stick to the numbers. Thanks. Okay, Mr. D'Amato.
Al D'Amato. Michelle, as I understand it, you're saying that the salaries that are in the decreases is because they're coming out of reserve funds.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
What's the question I have is with 60/50 seasonal employees, where, it's a slight decrease.
Hang on.
Oh, 60,
I have too many papers.
60/50, page 6.
Entirely too many papers.
60, 50. Seasonal grounds, right here.
Seasonal. Yes.
I don't know, she's got details she wants to do.
Yeah, I do.
So we budget for all of them to be here, right? The 22 employees. So it's budgeted for 245 up to 264 this
So
time.
we have an $11,000 savings due to absenteeism, more or less. What's the
Yeah.
duration of their employment? April through?
April 1st through Thanksgiving, until Thanksgiving.
Up till December 1st, but we usually don't do it after Thanksgiving because it's only
It's another
it's
week.
only a couple days.
Okay. I return. Thank you.
Thank you.
Marillion Birdie, Farrington Court. The sanitation service expense was increased $46,500. When does this contract expire? It's yearly, and I would assume?
What was it, a 3-year contract we settled for?
It's from January 2017 through December of 2018.
Thank you.
Tom Farrell, General Ledger 8,000, which is professional fees legal. Is that McGovern Legal Services?
Yes. In part.
Primarily, right?
Primarily. There are a few other items in there. McGovern's is the majority of it.
Okay. Now, the next, related to that, I don't want to screw this up. Related to that is, I believe Mr. Schultz announced the last meeting that we're beginning union negotiations. And I remember last time around we had $40,000 in there for the union attorney only. Do we have that covered?
Well, we have it covered, but there's another meeting that's set up, and the board is reserving the right to hire an attorney until after the results of the next meeting.
Okay. On a different note, two of the trustees, Ms. Kaufman, Ms. Anthony, both profess to have extensive experience in labor negotiations and labor management. Can the trustees be used with these talents in this particular program?
Well, I'm not an attorney, but generally attorneys don't recommend it. They're the board. They act together, so they generally do not participate in it.
All right.
It says here, Edward Silverstein, 1001A, Thornbury Lane, Mr. Schultz. It says here the maintenance building, the electric, is that the electric bill? That's $18,000?
What's the account
Line item.
number?
Give us the line item, Edward.
71,411. 7040.
7040.
Yes.
I didn't get to it yet.
I'm not either.
7040. Maintenance electric, yes. Again, we didn't make an account for the solar panels in there because we didn't have any data under our belts at the time. We started working on this, in May? So next year, you should see that reflected in this line item.
Because when I asked you, it took me 4 years to find out what the electric bill was in the maintenance department, but finally you told me. You said it was $300 a month. That's $3,600 a year.
No.
Now you say that solar is going to give us...
No. Your numbers are off. For that building, it's $18,600 a year.
Is that the building where the solar is?
That's where the solar building is, yes.
Well, what I'm trying to explain to you, I'm only quoting what you told me. You said that the electric bill there was $300 a month.
But again, I think you're conflating two different things. This is not this building.
It's not the maintenance building.
The number you're quoting me right now, that you're saying I said, is definitely not the maintenance building.
Do you have any information before the solar was put on, how much
Absolutely.
the electric bill was in a maintenance building?
Absolutely.
What is it?
In 2016, it was 21,000, almost 22,000. In 2015, it was almost 18,000. Roughly over 10-year average, it's about $18,000, $19,000.
Is that per month?
That's a year.
For the year? Okay, you divide it in half is, all right, that's 18,000 for the year.
Right.
1,500 a month? A little over that. 1,500 a month.
Right.
Okay, well, I remember distinctly that I thought I heard you say it was 300 a month.
Not
But
for
maybe,
that.
maybe
Not for
I'm
that.
mistaken. Thank you.
Thank you.
Al D'Amato. I have a follow-up with the question for the lawyer's fees. Does the lawyer sit in every meeting, or does he just do a final review of the contract?
Oh, on the contract, in the past, not this time yet, but in the past, when we have had a lawyer, they conduct the meetings. So they're there every time.
Would it be to our advantage to only bring the lawyer in once everything's been hashed out?
It's been
Just
talked
have him
about.
do a review?
It's been talked about.
Think about it a little stronger.
Tom Farrell, can you tell me where the $1,700 that we charge new residents or new owners shows up? Is that 5108?
Yeah, administrative transfer fee, so that's 1,000 of it. 500 of it goes into the deferred maintenance account, and 200 of it goes into the common buildings account. So, but you see 1,000 of it on
The operating
whatever,
side.
on the operating side. Or you're looking right there, I think you're looking at 5108.
5108, proposed budget 198,000.
Excuse me?
Proposed budget says 198,000.
Correct, that's the $1,000 that goes into operating. Another 500 of that 1,700 goes into the deferred maintenance fund that Joe spoke of before. And then another 200 of it goes into the common buildings fund.
Okay. So Joe, in his slide, I wrote down 109,500. So that's 500
That's-
times something.
Correct.
Okay.
That's a variable, of course, right?
Now, part of the question I have is you're showing it going up 21,000. The homes, we've been exceeding budget all year long on the $1,700 in your monthly reports. However, that was based on a run rate, at least from last year, of about 15 homes per month. As of the end of May, we're running at about 10.5 homes per month. So how are you, it sounds rather optimistic to me, this number.
Well, actually, for 2016, our actual number was 217,000. So we had 217 closes for
Okay.
2016. So, I mean, it's a crystal ball. You tell me how many houses you think are going to sell from now till the end of the year and then for the next fiscal year. You have to use estimates. So we do look at the 10-year average, but sometimes you can't even use that because back in 2008, which is in our 10-year period, we only had $92,000 of income
And a
on
different
this
rate.
account.
And a different rate.
At a different rate. So we try to take the current trends into account and also look at, what happened over prior years. The 10-year average right now is 147, but that's too low. Last year, like I said, 2016 was 217,000. So the 198 is kind of in the middle, and, we felt that was a conservative estimate.
Okay, but you changed the fees, didn't?
Correct.
I mean, we changed the fees.
Right.
I'm going on. I know last year there was 183 homes in 2016. So far through May, there's 57. It seems like it's running lower. And I just wanted to challenge, or not challenge, but understand better
And
how you
we
were
do,
coming up with this.
And we do get a lot around, I don't know why, but around Christmas, sometimes, right before the holidays, we do get a big run, and then in the summertime,
Okay.
those numbers do go up.
And then the last related question. Are we doing any exit interviews with the people that are selling? Find out why they're leaving?
No.
They always come in and they, ask us what they need to do in the office. They ask Sam and her staff, what do we need to do before closing? But we don't specifically ask them, why are you leaving?
Okay, well, that would be a suggestion. I think if we know why they were leaving, it might help us better to know where we're going.
So I've noticed that Faye Weinstein, Huntington Drive, that the cedar shakes need to be fixed, the PVC trim needed to be fixed, for some reason the fences needed to be replaced. A lot of people have been complaining about the grass. My neighbors, they came, they ripped it all up, put topsoil down, put seed down, put the green stuff down, right? And all that's there is weeds. There's not a blade of grass.
Faye, this is a budget meeting.
Well,
Do you
the
have budget
question
questions?
is, Miss Nordell,
Yes.
where's the money for these repairs? And are we budgeting enough to be able to do the right job the first time around?
So you started off with fences and trim and all of that.
Well,
and then
because
you-
we let it all go down, and then we have to
Right.
replace
So-
it all instead of
hope-
maintaining it.
It's a pretty broad category you went to, but let me just say, we've got a number of issues and some of those issues have been tackled. We had the same problems with the panels in the Willow section. The panels were taken care of, replaced, and now that is less of a worry on the panels. Although we do have to power wash, right? These are causing us other issues to do. We had issues with the wooden fences. We brought that to the board. That has been taken care of. We have problems with the trim, as you said. We're switching over to PVC. So we are looking for alternatives, for longer range solutions. When you're going about the grass, completely different thing. We can throw more money at it, put more stuff in the budget for more manpower, but unless the rules change and we can get water freely, we're doomed. If it's going to be hot, 90-something degrees every day and no rain, no matter what you put on there, the only thing that's going to thrive are the weeds. So we need to address that if we can ever get to that point where we can get more water out of the state. But so far, we have failed. There's a 24 million gallon a month. We're allowed to pump out of our wells. They're not budging on it. They're jumping on him every month to make sure he's staying under that. That's a whole different area. That's a harder one to fix. But we are working on all of these problems that are addressable.
Okay. But they're all becoming plastic as opposed to...
Yeah.
Good
Well,
building.
that's sort of maintenance free, so that's the idea. Reduced maintenance, let's put it that way. It's not free, you're right.
Good evening, Fran Siddons, Cambridge Circle. I just want to say that I probably am not the only resident that is being serviced just because of the project. As you know, Jim and Tom, I've had a couple of major issues in my home besides not so many major issues, and yet maintenance men were sent to my home more than once and twice until those issues were completed in my home. So I think that people should know that just because the projects are going on, that the residents are still being serviced with things that are wrong in their home, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you.
Peg Burke. I have one question under 8320. Bank service charges for $5,300 a year. The bank charges us to use the
8320, you said?
Well,
8320 bank service charges.
So it's really made up of two items. I haven't gotten there yet, but so two items. We have We have 13 bank accounts. And all of our bank accounts that are at Chase, we move money back and forth hundreds of times a month. And there's no fees there, no wire fees. But we also have, you can't keep all your eggs in one basket, so we have many other accounts. We have a clearing account at Kearney Bank. We have our checking account at TD Bank. And then we've got our 2 brokerage accounts. Well, to wire money back and forth from TD and Kearney to those Chase accounts, there's a wire fee. So it's not a bank fee like you're thinking of.
Right.
It's the wire fee. So that's half of that account. The other portion of this account, $2,300, is credit card fees. So the board decided many years ago to start allowing residents to pay their maintenance or any other charges with a credit card. And there are fees associated with that, and the board at that time chose not to pass those fees back on to the resident. So the board picks up those fees, and like I said, it's about $2,300 a year.
Oh, good, so I can put my monthly maintenance fee on my credit card and get my double points?
You can, and that's what a lot of people do, but it does cost the association.
But they won't.
What?
She won't get the discount.
Right. If you are going to pay the 12 months in advance, which I don't know if everybody knows this, if you pay your annual fee, your monthly maintenance fee for 12 months by the October date, you'll get a 2% refund, but only on cash or a check. You can't do it on the credit card because it doesn't make any sense.
Then if I want to make the change, do I use the form that you have nicely provided here? But
No.
that's for bank.
That's for a check.
Okay.
Unfortunately, with your credit card, as some people are aware of this, you have to either leave it on file with us, which we don't really like to do, but or you just call in every month and we'll swipe it through once a month. Just like you'd write out a check, you call us and we'll swipe it through.
Okay.
We would love to get to the point where we could do all of these things online, and eventually, maybe we'll get there, but as of today, you have to make the phone call.
Okay. Can I have one? No? Okay.
Arthur Weiner, before I get to the numbers, the microphones are nice. Everybody keeps moving them because we're used to moving the microphones to be able to speak. And if this is the setup that we should do and not move them, I suggest somebody put a sign here to say, come up and talk, don't touch the microphones. Well, if they would, I think this is the way they work. Can you hear me now? Maybe I adjusted them wrong. But I'm just saying, however they're adjusted, you ought to put a note. Now, the questions I have, 80/20 bookkeeping computer expense, 16,200 or 800. Is that a maintenance fee for the top system? 80/20.
80/20 right here.
I like my paper.
You like yours better?
Mine better.
Huh?
She likes her book better. So wait.
I would trust her book better too.
I know. You don't like mine?
Okay, 80/20. 80/20 has got quite a few items in there. We've got our weekly payroll service fee is in there. We've got our annual accounting software support agreement, which is $1,600. We've got the cost of all of the resident monthly payment coupon books. And if you pay by direct deposit or an ACH, we don't send you a book, so it's only 1,500 people that get a coupon book, so that's $2,500. Then we have a little charge for move-ins, move-outs. A new person moves in, they need a coupon book. We try to print them out, but we have AP checks, accounts payable checks for $300, and then a new service fee, the ACA Obamacare payroll service fees, which we get charged $1,500 a year for that. So all of that adds up to $18,000.
Okay, no, I was wondering what it was. I thought it was an awful lot for maintenance on your accounting software.
Yeah, nope, it's not just the accounting software, it's quite a few items.
I again suggest maybe speak to our auditor if some of those things should be split out to 2 or 3, so we know what the payroll fees are and et cetera, as opposed to bundling them. Just a thought. Okay, line, can I ask another number?
We
Go to the end of the line?
have a line behind you, yes.
I'm going to keep moving the mic Aldamato. 6951, other employee benefits. Could you expand on that,
Yes.
please?
6951.
Yes, page 6.
She's got the big book. The page don't have it.
She's got the important book with the
Yeah.
definitions.
It's a lot of pages to get through.
Okay.
So 6951, in that line item, we have the Thanksgiving gift certificates, which are given out to the employees for $15 each for their turkey. That's $915. We've got Christmas gift certificates, ShopRite gift certificates for turkeys, another $915. We've got employee service recognition awards. If you're here 5, 10, 15, 20 years, you get a gift card.
I get a piece of acrylic. No gift card.
That's $800. We have $1,300 for criminal background checks and drug testing on employees. And then we've got medical reimbursements not covered by insurance for $16,000.
Those drug tests and background checks, that's just for new hires?
Or
is it random?
We do drug testing on any accident. We do drug testing on new hires, and we do background checks on new hires.
Okay, thank you.
Walter Dailuski, tree expense, account 7720. Very small amount. On page 7, 7720.
Want to just read what's here?
You want me to read it?
It's up to you.
I can read it.
Huh?
I'm going to get there.
Jim should have something, right?
Go ahead.
Want me to read it?
Yeah.
Count 7720, tree expense, purchase of shrubs and common plantings for the common buildings, agricultural supplies, plastic pots, topsoil, tree stakes, items like that, miscellaneous for $300, miscellaneous tools for $300, and then we average about 15 trees we plant a year at $195 each for approximately $2,925.
Does that tree expense include outside contractors that come in to trim our trees?
It does not.
Where is that contracted? Where is that in the budget?
We really do not use outside contractors to come in and trim our trees. We do it in-house. We have in the past utilized, but that is through a different account.
Right. Where possible. I mean,
Yeah.
I can't say we haven't ever done
No,
it,
we
but-
rarely do, but when we do, it's not this account.
Yeah.
We didn't last year, I don't believe.
No, we didn't. Okay.
We have brought them in the past.
This is a prime example of what Faye was talking about. Things don't get done, okay, and we meet the budget. Things don't get done, and we meet the budget, okay? I want the board to particularly pay attention to this. Okay, I recently had a conversation with Gene Caravel, a heated conversation.
These mostly purchases.
Okay, and Mr. Snyder was there also. Okay, we're talking about what's going on in the village, particularly about trimming back on the houses, lawn maintenance. Okay, and also about the trees, let's say on Buckingham and Huntington, that Ms. Kaufman is very well aware of. Okay, that there's a lot of dead trees around. Okay, in the course of the conversation, okay, Mr. Snyder volunteers, okay, that we're still working on trees from Hurricane Sandy 4.5 years ago. Okay, and there's 80 trees still to be cut down or severely pruned. Okay, from 4.5 years ago.
May I respectfully disagree? You sure you weren't talking to Mr. Caravella about that? Because I never mentioned anything about Sandy.
Superstorm,
Sandy. Possibly from
Sandy,
Mr.
Sandy
Caravella?
Kaufman is aware of, because we had a conversation about this a few years ago when we were driving through the village and there was a dead tree here and a dead tree there. A big dent has been made in some of the trees on the main thoroughfares.
But
okay,
could-
but if you're still 4.5 years behind, okay, there's something wrong with this budget.
Next.
Any remarks from the board? 4.5 years
It's not true.
was sleeping on this project?
Next person.
It's not true.
Hello again. On page 5.
What's the
Can't
account
hear me
number?
now? Well, I was told not to come near it. Okay, is that better?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, it's me, Peg. On page 5995, rental income, is that where the doctor and the lawyer
Yes.
and the Indian chief left?
Yes. That's why it's under budget, yeah.
Okay, are we moving, so we obviously are not putting any money up because nobody's there. They're vacant,
Right.
so they're costing us money.
Right. That's why you
Okay.
see the annualized number is lower. That means this fiscal year, it's lower.
Right.
Next year, we're being, we're
Hopeful.
thinking, yes, we're being
Right.
quite hopeful that we'll be fully
Which
rented.
ties into the meeting tomorrow. In the township, we're looking for that variance for that building to allow other businesses in there that would be able to fill it easier.
Okay, that, just checking that it didn't have anything to do with the units that are rented out.
No.
No, this is just the income coming off of Ridge Realty
Right.
and whatever the credit union.
Yeah, our
is.
commercial buildings right
Right.
now.
Okay.
Arthur Weiner, 1251B Thornbury. I saw where you had a budget increase for the telephone expense for $30,000 for this year. But that's not for Fios, that's for our current hotwire phones that you use and Verizon. Why is there an increase for the phones?
Well, you've been advocating this for some time, right? That we should be budgeting for what it's going to cost us when Verizon does come in. So those are numbers close to where we're budgeting, from what I'm hearing from the commercial end, on the cost per line, including the internet access. We're pretty close to those numbers on that we're
But
budgeting.
shouldn't that be in the 2019 budget, not this budget?
No.
This budget is before Fios.
We don't know what's going on in next year, right? We don't know because the board is asking. You have been asking, can it be done sooner? Can
Okay.
the commercial building be done sooner?
And you told us no.
I know. I said we're hearing this. I don't know if that's true or not.
Okay. All right, it was just a question. But the real question is, on 8435, TV room expense. What is the TV room expense?
What's the number again?
8435.
Isn't that in?
111.
Are you talking about
Isn't that in-
KLVW?
111.
All right.
ALVW.
Maybe the title should be a little different. And I didn't see a line item in here for TVs in the common buildings from Fios. The original, I haven't seen, you haven't posted the current contract, but as I remember the original proposal, it did not include free TV in the common buildings.
Yeah, there's going to be TV in each one of these buildings.
That's going to be part of our bulk agreement? Okay, so that was a change. But that's why I was looking for it in here. Thank you.
Karen McGinley, Canterbury Drive. Line item 8323. Bad debt. Can you explain that?
So unfortunately, some of your neighbors pass away, leave, walk away from their homes and owe us money. And that's why we've started this whole rental program, because these things happen and we lose money. Sometimes we aren't able to recoup all of the money, so that's a bad debt and would be an expense to everybody, and it gets put
This
back
is the
into-
ones you're not recouping.
Correct.
The amount of the outstanding is a different number.
Correct.
That's not anywhere in here.
Nope, that's in the financials.
Okay. Do you know the time of that court tomorrow?
7, I think, 7 p.m.
Oh, 7 p.m.
7 p.m. over at the municipal building, the zoning court.
Thank you.
Al D'Amato.
Not supposed to touch the mics.
Us taller people can't.
I'm only kidding.
Michelle, Peggy brought up the rental income. Now, that gave me to inquire, since we're not collecting rent, are we charging this off as a lost income since we are technically landlords?
Can you repeat that?
Okay.
I'm confused.
We have a vacant rental unit in our commercial facility.
Right.
As such, are we deducting that loss of income?
No, so that would show up as an under budget item. So if you look on your
Well, I'm thinking basically tax-wise, since we are technically a landlord.
We obviously wouldn't pay tax on income that we didn't receive.
No, I'm looking at it as a landlord. When you have vacant properties, you have a loss of income, and as such, you are allowed to deduct same. Are we doing this?
It would just be an item that we don't pay tax on. So I guess.
I think that would be an audit question rather than a budget question.
Not a budget question, an audit question.
Okay. I shall return.
Good evening. Norm Haythorne, 30D Yorkshire Court. I have a question on 7010. I think one of the meetings I came to, we were looking in solar panel for solar lighting for the walkway and for the lights. Have we gone any further on that?
So 7,000 is street lighting.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not applicable to this because there's no meters on street lighting. So that's probably not applicable.
But maybe
so walkway lighting, there's about, we might be down to like 80 meters now. It used to be 100 and something meters throughout the village that our walk lights are tied to and our wells are tied to. The wells are the largest portion of that expense.
Okay.
And so far in New Jersey, we cannot aggregate those into one array.
Mm-hmm.
We're hoping that changes, but right now it doesn't. Otherwise, we did look into putting panels near each one of those meters to offset it, but we haven't moved. We just got this one done.
I know we spoke about it, and I just wonder how far we got. I do just one more question. The solar panels on our buildings look great. Are we going to decide to move them to some of our houses too?
Oh yeah, no, that's a whole different ball game right there.
Question.
Yeah?
That's the whole thing.
That's you're in a condominium complex. You have shared common roofs. So there's a lot of issues to go over there. We're trying to concentrate now on the community buildings. We only got one of those done so far.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're going to, I can't speak for the finance division, but I think we're going to try to focus on the common buildings first and maybe down the road talk about that.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You.
Enjoy your evening.
Al D'Amato, the lighting, 7,000 through 7060?
7060?
Yes. For the sake of argument, everything is decreasing. Is that because we over budgeted last year?
Leisure Fair Electric, yeah, we only spent $7,405.
No, I'm on page 6. You got like 7,710.
What account number? Oh, all of them?
Yes, the total light expenditures. Is the reasoning for the decrease is because we over budgeted?
Let's see. Street lighting is right on, pretty much, so no. Walkway lighting.
Well, you're down, 3,417, and another one for 16,000.
Walk lighting is a little bit different because it depends on the weather, because you're pumping water out, whether you pump more or less. That's a tougher one to nail down. But that one, we're going down about 4,000. Will Hall Electric, we came in at 35, almost 36 last year. We're budgeting at 37, close. Again, depending on what the weather does, whether that goes up or down.
Are the walk lights on timers or
they're on
sensors?
Photo cells.
Check the one over by Encore Apache because those lights are on.
They're different.
They're on at 6 o'clock.
They're on timers and photo cells. So we'll check that one, Bachi area.
Yeah, the post.
Yeah.
They're on at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, well, yeah, that definitely we switched mostly to LED lighting to cut the cost down as best as possible.
Right. Thank you.
That is budget, it's electric.
Hi, Joy Carmody, Sheffield Drive. Mr. Nordell, I have a question. When we talk about the employees' salaries, and we have numbers of the employees, is it as, well, let's say if we had $40,000 on the line item and we had 2 employees, would it be that each employee is paid $20,000, or is it's prorated? Okay. Because in particular, I was looking at the people that work on the sprinklers and what it costs to maintain the sprinklers. And I know directly, my son-in-law does this, that this is extremely minimal and extremely, for lack of better words, cheap. So when I sat there and I looked at what the employees, what the maintenance people are being paid, what the painters are being paid, and so on, when I look at the annual salaries, I almost wonder how the people live on these salaries, because they're very low. And I think you do a great job at budgeting things, and I think you do a great job of keeping salaries down. But I am a little concerned, too, about the people that work here and the people that make their living and have families that live here. And I'd just like to say that, you know, looking, as I said, at the sprinkler people, my son-in-law works for a company that services other developments. They charge $30,000 a month to have somebody just look things over, and we charge $30,000 a year. So, I mean, these prices are exceptionally low, and I think our people do an exceptional job considering what they're paid to. So I really have to give a lot of credit to the people that work here in the village, because I think they're working at a very low and very fair, if anything, rate. And I'd just like to say thank you to them, and thank you to you keeping that.
Okay, last question.
Yeah, Walter Daluski. I'd like to apologize to Jim Snyder and to Gene Carabell, okay, because I didn't mention the second half of that conversation, okay? You know, I believe it was 80 trees from Hurricane Sandy 4.5 years ago, okay? But regardless, okay? But the point came up that they don't have the staff. And I said to them, that's not my problem. I pay my maintenance fees. I expect things done, okay? And I told Jim at that time, I says, Jim, go to Joe, go to the Board of Trustees, and get the employees so you can get back on schedule here. 4.5 years behind, okay? It's the same situation, okay, when we come here on Monday morning, okay, and something's not working, okay? You call maintenance. You're lucky if you call 10 times and maybe on the 10th call you'll get an answer, okay? So on behalf of Jim, Gene Carabell, I want to mention this. 10 years ago, we had 10 more employees than we have now. Same number of homes, okay? We cut down the staff by 14, 15%, okay? Things are not getting done, okay? And they're trying to Band-Aid over here and a Band-Aid over here, okay? You take a men off of whatever their assignment was before, and now you got them on a 14-year project on the AZAC, okay? The idea is you got to give these guys the workers that they need to get the work done. And the 4.5 years behind on tree trimming and from Hurricane Sandy lies with basically the trustees. Give them what they need, and let's get back to work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Al D'Amato. I don't see any increase in salaries, and this is a contract year for union personnel.
So let's not talk about that.
Okay.
This is a budgeted item.
All right, let's question, you know, we're being told the $70,400 in house mechanics is coming out of reserve funds. How much is going in every year into reserve funds to offset the $70,000 coming out?
We went over that.
refresh my
So
memory.
deferred maintenance you're talking about?
So that's being increased from $171,700 to $185,000. Also going into that account is that $500 from each admin transfer fee on an annual basis for about $109,500.
Okay, so we're increasing from 171 to 185,
Right.
but then we're taking 70,000 out.
No. So funding is different than expense. Funding is the money that comes out of your maintenance fees and goes into the account.
Yes, but you're
and then
saying
we
you-
charge the expense to the account. So
But
when you
you
look
had-
at
you
so
had
when you look at the operating account, you've got expense accounts that are debits.
Right.
So we pay the guys, we debit the account. Then we credit the account and debit the deferred maintenance account for the expense.
Right.
Okay?
You're,
So it's an
you're
in and
shuffling
an out.
from column A to column B to
Right.
placate column C. The question is basically that you're saying we're going from 171 to 185.
Right.
I'm looking that we're taking the 70,000 from that account.
Well-
Am I correct in understanding that?
Yeah, we're taking $263,000 from that account. So you're put for the whole cost, and part of it is that payroll.
Right. I'm looking at
Materials
the
and
payroll
labor.
number.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. All right.
Maria Bertie Farrington.
Right in the middle.
In page 6, it would have been advantageous if we always knew
What's
the
the-
number of people. we're
What's the
talking
account number?
about. 6561, 6562.
656.
There's a decrease and an increase. Is that because you move your employees from one place to the other?
Well, instead of paying for them out of the operating account, we're paying for them out of the reserves.
There.
Right.
Thank
So
you.
that's what we were just
and
talking about.
Mr. Schultz, Mr. Snyder,
Oh, boy.
Michelle, thank you, Howard, and Board of Trustees, thank you for your thorough presentation.
Yeah.
Marge King, 688A Friar Court. Walter Deluski mentioned trees that have not been tended to since Hurricane Sandy several years ago. I have brought to management's attention twice a house on Edinburgh, 56D or C or something. It's an end unit. The siding blew out during that storm. Siding in that era was sheets, 5 by 8, like plywood. I was told it had to be special ordered.
So
The
we're-
second time I reported it, they said, we have ordered it, it hasn't come in yet. Well, here we are.
Yeah, well, this is the first time I'm hearing an address associated with that. This,
I reported to you the address, the exact address, when I found it, and when I reported it the second time
I'm
and
not-
said, what's happened?
I'm not denying that. What I'm saying to you recently, over the last 6 months at least, people have been alluding to that, but they don't tell me what the address. They say
Well, you've
somewhere-
had the address since
somewhere-
it happened.
Okay, fine.
And chipmunks
So
and
now that-
squirrels could be living in there.
So now that
we,
we
the
know-
residents, own that house. We're responsible when it is landlord and a rental. When the landlord sells that house, the new person is going to say, well, gee whiz, I've got termites or whatever in the wall.
Very good.
Come
Thank
on.
you. Now we know what it is. Thank you.
No, you've had this number for a lot of years, Joe.
Okay.
Because I have reported it twice. Something has got to be done. It's my house.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Edward Silverstein, 1001A Thornbury Lane. I just want to give a little credit to somebody. I was sitting on a couch, and all of a sudden I felt I was taking a shower, and it was my skylight up on the roof. So called maintenance, and this guy John came there, and he put some kind of, putty on there, and it stopped. And he said, you know what? He says, I see that there's some different color shingle, so I'm going to go back to the shop and get that shingle and those couple shingles, because I can't see them from the street, and put them on there. So I thought that was very, very good. And one more thing. I'm seeing more squirrels, like now I see
We don't
about-
budget for squirrels.
I just want to say, should I build a house for them? I see 14, 15 squirrels, and they may be rabid. That's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah, I know, that was on the news lately.
So what's the solution for that? Should I build a house?
Birth control.
Oh.
Yeah,
okay.
right.
That'll wipe them out?
Birth control for squirrels.
They're like
Yeah.
a cockroach. They survive. Okay, anyhow, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, Michelle, Jim, trustees. This meeting is adjourned.